You get a cool fade up here.
I get a cool fade. This is natural. All natural fade right here, baby. Took me 10 years to get this just right.
Barbers are like, damn, how'd you get that so slick?
I don't need to touch that. That's perfection. That is just bam. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Biz Dev Podcast, the podcast about developing your business. I'm your host, David Baxter, and I am joined by goat yoga expert Gary Voigt. How's it going, man?
It's going all right. Little hoof marks on my back, but everything else is fine.
Nice. Well, I've heard that's just part of the process.
Yep. It's part of the process.
So we are going to be talking about tech stuff, software goodies, small business, leadership, all that stuff, and how they're all related. Hope you will be mildly entertained as we get going. All right. So, goat man, we're going to talk Instagram. I think everybody's talking about Instagram right now because it is hard, as my son would say, hot garbage.
Yep, it sucks.
And it's funny though, and we were just chatting about this before we started, about how weird and bad Instagram is right now. If you don't know, if you don't ever use Instagram, the 30,000 foot view is they want to be TikTok, and they're just rolled out a new version in the last bit that pushed it forward to be more like TikTok, and people are revolting, including the Kardashians.
Yeah, that's
and when the Kardashians say something, the world changes.
Apparently that made news because I guess they have collectively probably some of the biggest followers or the biggest.
Well, she's number 2.
Followers. Oh, okay.
Kylie is number 2 in the world with 350 million, which think about that. She has 350 million followers. That is almost every man, woman, and child in the entire United States. Follow her on Instagram. That is crazy.
Got to be bots. Anyways, but yeah.
It's still. But so the thing is when they complain because they're such power users and they basically retweeted or reposted or whatever the verbiage is for Instagram. They said, hey, make Instagram again. Yeah. Because now it's trying to be TikTok. And so the big kahuna over in Instagram said, oh, yeah, we're going to roll it back temporarily.
They tried to play it off like these were just their enhancements that they're making to the user's platform to help better serve the user, but they might have gone a little too far, so they're going to try to dial it back and then release them in stages. But please, let us know how you feel about this and that, which is Meta's way of saying, ooh, man, I guess we were wrong. Because it's they didn't even try to get any kind of user feedback.
They are not shy that they want to make another TikTok, which I don't understand why. I know TikTok right now is the new hotness, but it's not always going to be the hotness
from day one, you know?
Yeah. I don't get why they have to mirror that. Instagram is not TikTok. TikTok is its own thing. If you want to be TikTok, make another one. But they all are doing this.
It's just because they see the number of people subscribed and the amount of money that TikTok makes for people, or not for people, but TikTok makes. And the investors are like, how come, Instagram's not making as much as this? So like, oh, okay.
They are. Change it. I mean, Facebook is so much larger than TikTok is in terms of money. I think
Meta is actually losing
the key part of this is the key part of this is they said it's temporary. They know that they're still going to do it. What they basically admitted is our algorithm to show you suggested posts is not as good as TikTok. So until we get it better, we're going to back it off. Now, I did find a fun button, and based on our earlier chat, I don't think you know this button exists. When you have a suggested post, there's like dots or something, and you could say hide all suggested posts for the next 30 days.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, similar to like YouTube.
All my friends came back.
Where you can hide, or if they'll suggest something, you could say, unrelated, not interested, already watched it, stuff like that. So yeah, I did notice that because I was getting very, very sick of the targeted ads that didn't make sense for me, and that there was 15 of them.
I will say Instagram ads are pretty good for me. Like I am always looking up I'm nerding out on D&D and stuff like that. And there's all these extra books. Somehow they found that out. I guess probably because I followed Critical Role. It wasn't a secret, but I followed them. They're like, well, he must like D&D. So they're throwing me books. And then I clicked on an ad, and now I get all the ads cousins and for various gizmos. But I find I'll click next and read more about it. I find that they're pretty well targeted on the ad side of things. Not the suggestions. I don't think the suggestions are great. Apparently, they think I want to regrow my hair. That is certainly on their list. I get a lot of that, which makes me feel real good. I don't know how they know I'm bald, but I appreciate it very much.
See, I follow a lot of skateboarders and skateboarding, like I guess you'd say like curated posts about skateboarding, videos about skateboarding. But lately, with the way it's showing reels and videos, like, and every third post is like that group of 3 reels that it suggests to you. And then after the next 2, it's like an ad. But the ads have gotten so deep into this weird outlier niche area of skateboarding where it's like trying to sell me these little silicone like wheel stoppers that you put on so you could practice doing tricks in your, house on your carpet without moving. Like weird little things that I'm just like,
that is
there's no
niche.
way in the world I would ever be interested in anything like this. So they just go too far. I think maybe if you don't react and click on read more on certain ones, they just keep throwing stuff out there like, well, maybe this one, maybe this one.
Maybe that one. Which I'm generally fine with. What I don't like is suggestions. Like I like Liver King. Well, I shouldn't say I like him. I follow Liver King. Have you heard of this guy?
No, but I can't stand the smell of liver when it's being cooked, so I'm already nauseous.
So this guy he's a former bodybuilder, and he apparently has become this marketing machine where he sells supplements.
That's like every bodybuilder on social media.
But he is really good at it. Like he eats raw liver. That's his thing. Oh, God. And his skin has this real weird red tone. And he talks about living your primal self. And he's just bonkers, man. But he did one post the other day where he like almost yelled at his wife. And that just turned me off. But anyway.
It's not roid rage. I mean, it's not roid rage.
That was what all the comments were. All the comments were like, whoa, sure, roid rage, man. Chill out. Yeah, he's like, I don't do any of that stuff. I'm like, man, the human body doesn't look like that unless you're on something.
Anybody selling supplements, like, always question the supplements. Never expect them to be what you're thinking they are or what they're trying to sell you that they are.
Not to go off too far on the rails, but the more I read about vitamins, the more I realize it's all a scam.
Like 99.9% of them are.
I don't believe there, and maybe I'm wrong on this. I'm sure some doctor will get back to me. Feel free. But they don't recommend vitamins. Like my doctor doesn't say, hey, you're 44 years old, you should be taking these vitamins, except for like very specific things like no man gets enough vitamin D, right? Like that's
I was just going to say, unless it's
women need to be on calcium.
Based on your blood work. But yeah, usually
but no one says a multivitamin.
Make sure you take your Centrum.
Yeah, no one's saying Centrum. Boy, Centrum. Those ads are iconic when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's why I brought
A to Silver, right? Wasn't that right? The A to Silver?
And then they like Centrum Men's, Centrum Women's, Centrum Young Men.
Young women. Centrum Teens.
Now I do take 9,000 supplement gummies. The industry is huge.
I do take a multivitamin. I don't know why, but I do. But my doctor's like, you don't need to. There's no real scientific evidence that you do anything but just pee all that out anyways. So I don't know. Anyway.
But back to Instagram.
I don't get to. Yeah, Instagram. Are we done with Instagram? I mean, are you a big Instagram user? I mean, that's the real thing.
Not anymore.
Who is a big Instagram user?
Not anymore. I used to be.
I check it a few times a day.
When it was a little less video heavy and it was more, like you would actually see the images and the posts from the people that you follow. That was cool.
That's
because
always
you can
been my
scroll
problem.
through slowly and you can look at images, and I love photography. So I did follow a lot of photographers. Now, I still follow those photographers, but I never see their posts. I'm seeing more stuff for me to buy than I am actual content I want to. So yeah, not so much anymore.
That's what turned me off. And there's so many things that turned me off of Facebook, but what really just was done is say I follow Joe Smith, right? And I like Joe Smith because of X, Y, and Z. There is no guarantee when I'm scrolling through my feed that I get to see all of Joe Smith's content.
Right.
And I don't like that.
Unless
to
you
me,
go
if I
to
said I
his
want to
page
follow
and
this
then look
guy,
through his stuff, but
yeah, but I shouldn't have to do that, right? That's what the feed is for. The feed shows me all the new stuff that's happened since the last time I was on the app.
yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I actually liked Instagram when I first started using it was if I followed 20 people, I would scroll through their content, and then it would basically say, oh, you're done. You've seen it all that they have done. All those 20 people, you've seen all of their content. Would you like to see more? And then they'd start suggesting me stuff. Yeah, and if I wasn't done with Instagram, sure, I'll keep scrolling. But I loved the fact that I knew I was done. I had reached the end, and I could put it down. No other social media did that. They don't do that anymore because now the suggested stuff is just everywhere.
Yeah, no, you have to scroll for like 5 hours to see half of the content you want. It's insane.
Yeah, it's true. All right. So the lesson of the day is don't use Instagram. But here's the thing. Oh, have you heard of Be Real? I was telling my son about this. I read about this. This is the new hotness.
I know Be Real from Cypress Hill.
No. Get out. There is a new social media app that is getting all the mentions now. It's called Be Real, and you have your group of friends. So think Snapchat. You have your group of friends, but there's no spotlight or anything like that. And all of your friends, I don't know all the details because I've never used this. I was just reading about it, and it's very interesting. At like a certain time of the day, and I think it changes, they send a notification to all the people in your friend group, and they say, what are you doing right now? And you have 2 minutes to post. So you don't have time to go edit it. You don't have time to, create some magical story. It's what are you doing right now, and share it with your friends. And if you post it late, it's flagged as late, like they took too long. And then all your friends get to see it, and then they get to comment and stuff like that. Oh, you're camping or whatever.
Hence
I was like, that's very cool. And the whole concept is to be real.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it goes anywhere. But it's a neat concept. I like they're thinking outside of the box. I'm not sure how you make money on that, to be honest. Like where do the ads come in?
Yeah, they'll pull in.
I always think that the best ways to make money is buttons that allow you to buy the things you see. I think that is just a transparent way to make money. And it's not obnoxious, but if I see, there's a book that this guy's, he's pitching it, whatever, but I like it, click on it, boom, I go and buy it. Or for ladies especially, I like her dress and I click on it and I can see it and I can buy it. And of course, Instagram makes a cut or whatever. They started doing that a while back. And they still do it some, but that's like apparently just doesn't make enough money or something. Okay, so I'm getting on my soapbox here today. We're going to talk about invisible pitfalls. And that's just a fun phrase. It doesn't really mean anything except for these are things that you as a client don't know you don't know. And they're critically important in who you choose as your vendor. Now, I'm specifically talking about tech, but this could be anything. When someone's doing something for you, things you don't know about it, you assume that they're going to do it, but they're huge deals. So this is a real story. Recently, we were talking to a startup, and they're early in the process, but they've been working with a developer that has been, they were getting a weird vibe. I think it's probably the best way of saying it. And he met me and decided that, hey, there's something I'm not quite sure. He's not technical, which is how all of our clients or most of the clients are. He's like, but I just don't feel right. Can you and your team take a look at this code? And this startup in particular, security is a big deal for what he's trying to do. And so we said, sure, let's go take a look. So we dive in there and we find some really not sketchy is not the right word, amateur moves, like really secure stuff that should be locked away and protected and all that good stuff is just wide open, for instance.
Yeah, I think amateur is a good way to say it.
I don't think anything malicious was being done here, but there are so many things that an amateur is not going to do that a pro will. And what's scary is when you are security, again, in this example, being a big deal, which should always be a big deal. But this wasn't just protecting user data. This was sensitive stuff that his app required him to collect. Yeah, think of a credit card number. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you gave someone a credit card number, you assume that they're going to take care of it. That's the pitfall, right? If I go to a website and I go and buy something, let's just say I'm going to go buy a scarf at scarfsrus.com. This isn't a big company. It's very clear it's not a big company when I go to their website. But I assume that they have done the bare minimums to secure my credit card when I buy my scarf.
Yeah, especially some people get that false sense of security if they're on a browser that they trust, whether it's Safari or Chrome, and it's stored their credit card information, for when they're shopping online. A lot of people will assume that makes any of the purchases they're doing on any other site anywhere else fine. It's safe because Google's protecting it.
And it's just an example, but I assume that the developer on the other end of that scarf website has done what they need to do to protect my stuff. And the sad part is that's not true. It's just not. A lot of startups, small companies, and again, I mean, if you're using Shopify or whatever, that's not what I'm talking about. Those guys will lock it down. It's all good stuff. But if you are building an app from scratch and you have to collect sensitive stuff, and there is no guarantee that they're doing it right. Now, you might even see the little lock up at the top. That means SSL.
HTTP.
Yes. Yeah, and you need that. That's a bare minimum. But all that does is protect your data when it's transferring from your browser to their website. That little lock says no one can steal that. Great. Bare minimum stuff. But once that developer has that data in their hands, they have responsibilities to treat it correctly. In most cases,
data has to go from the browser into the system that you're purchasing from, and then
correct,
put somewhere
or it gets
else
passed to a third party.
Right.
So without going in too far of the weeds, but there's stuff called PCI compliance, which is how you secure credit cards. And I'm using that just because it's a common thing. Nothing I've mentioned is actually credit card data. But when you pass through that credit card, you have to do it in a certain way so that Visa doesn't shut you down. That's what PCI compliance is. And if you're using something like Stripe, which is the largest credit card processor for developers, they have a way that says if you follow these steps, you will be safe and that credit card will be safe. And the sad part is that if you're an amateur, you might not take the time to do that correctly. And that's what I find. So the invisible pitfall that I'm talking about that really kind of lit me up when we were talking about it is you've got to know who you're talking to, and you've got to be confident that they know how to take care of you in whatever way it is. If you're making parachutes and you're farming out parachutes, you have to make sure that they know what they're doing, right? And they're not making it with holes or with the seams aren't strong enough or whatever. I mean, that's an extreme example, but it doesn't have to be tech.
There's a thing where, okay, if you're trying to get your business off the ground and you've found a developer, either a contractor or a team or whatever, and you're trying to save money, but you kind of expect that developer would understand these things and know how to handle that. But then maybe the developer team would kind of just think, well, we don't really know exactly what's supposed to happen with, I guess, either credit cards or sensitive information. But then again, the founder never really asked us about it, so I guess we're okay. You know what I mean? So there's like a gray area in there where if you don't know, you don't ask. Or if it was not asked of you, you don't go the extra mile to do it. So this is where like the amateur versus pro thing kind of comes into play.
If you've never done that, like if you've never done recurring transactions, I promise you're going to do it wrong the first few times.
Yeah, unless you're using a third-party system that's already established. But if you're building something
even if you're
yourself,
using a third-party system, I will tell you most developers, the first time that they do recurring payments through something like Stripe, very well established, they're going to do it wrong. Not because Stripe did something wrong, but because you didn't read all the docs, because you haven't figured out. I mean, what happens when someone's credit card expires and that needs to be updated before you get charged the next time? Stripe has a process of doing that. What happens when you take the credit card and it succeeds initially, but it fails a minute later when they do their fraud checks. What do you do, right? There's weird stuff involved that if you've never done that before, you're going to do it wrong. We did. I'll be painfully transparent. We absolutely did it wrong the first time. And it took trial and error because that stuff is super complicated. Now, we're good at it now. That was a long time ago. But we had to learn it too. And so when you're building your dream, do you want your dream to be built by the first time, right? By a first timer, right? Oh man, this is my baby. I've been thinking about this idea forever. I'm going to give it to a guy who's never done it before. Really? But he's so much cheaper. Yeah, he is. And you're going to get just annihilated because you're going to go to raise money. And those investors are going to ask, what did you do on a security standpoint? And they're going to have a list because these investors know what they're talking about, dude, or most of them do. They know what they're talking about. They're like, hey, you're taking sensitive stuff. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to protect it? Well, show me what you're doing to protect it. I don't know. Yeah, you're not going to raise any money from that guy. So I don't know. I get really fired up about this because you get I got another guy who's going to charge me a third of your price or half your price. All right, dude. You're going to get what you pay for. Right? Now, I understand some devs are stupid expensive. $300 an hour or whatever. Okay. Yeah, that's expensive. Are they bringing something to the table that I'm not? Maybe. Like, if you need real on security, like you're a heavy hitter, things like SOC compliance and this, that, and the other, I mean, that stuff gets gnarly. And you want that kind of stuff, yeah, you're going to pay that big bucks for that kind of level of security because not a lot of people can do that. We can't do that. We don't do SOC compliance because it's a whole thing. You get it certified and this, that, and the other. So if you're bringing in, you need that, you're going to have to pay for that because that guy has to stay up on that. It's like kind of like I need a guy who has top secret clearance. Sure, those guys exist. You can go find the developer who can work in top secret. Guess how much you're going to pay that dude? Because he's it, right? There might be a dozen of these guys, developers who have that clearance in your state. You're going to pay for that. Hey, I'm going to tell you a funny story. So years and years ago, this is totally unrelated. Years ago, this guy, he worked for a IT company. And I'm asking him, hey, you ever done anything weird? I mean, he said, well, we work for the DOD a lot. And so we're not allowed to ask any questions. But there was this one time, these guys come in, it's like classic government, nondescript, brings
black
in this
suit, sunglasses.
Server, brings it in, says, we need you to get the hard drive off of this. We need the data that's off this computer. And they're like, okay, can you tell us anything about it? No. Okay, so they unscrew there's a old school hard desktop computer. They unscrew the outside of it. Sand falls out of this computer. And there are bullet holes all around it. And they're like, oh, wow. Okay. I guess we know where this was from. This is like, during Iraq and all that. And so he didn't say a word but their job was to get the hard drive out and decrypt it and all that stuff. But it's kind of funny. It's like, yeah, we can't tell you where it came from. Well, okay. Anyway.
From a beach party gone wrong. Yeah.
Really bad beach party in Miami gone wrong. Anyway. So I mean, I don't need to beat the horse here, but it sounds like I have an ulterior motive, right? Hire me because I'm more professional.
Well,
that's not what I'm saying.
Like, what would you say 3 things that you check for, our team checks for, whenever we are kind of evaluating code like this? If we're taking on a project that's already either half built or we're taking over something someone else built,
okay,
or if we're being added to a team.
So what we ask our team when we're saying, hey, security is a big deal. What are you doing with sensitive information? Are you encrypting it? Is all sensitive information? And now sensitive could mean a lot of different things. If you're doing a HIPAA compliant, meaning medical, an email is sensitive, right? What they call it PPI, patient personal information, something like that. If you're doing HIPAA, everything, my first name is now sensitive. I need to be able to encrypt that because I need to make sure that this data is totally anonymized, right? So it's not necessarily a social security number or a credit card. It could be anything depending on your app. But hey, is that stuff being encrypted? Can you as the developer see it? because that's a no-no. Like you should never, for day one, I don't care what
so
your
when
app
you're
is,
saying
no developer should
you
see.
mean like as if these were stored somewhere in like a spreadsheet available somewhere
In
on,
a
like,
database.
on the server that you're looking at?
Correct. So if you're doing, if something's sensitive, like let's just say a password, a user password, those should be stored in such a way that the developers even themselves don't know what they are. Generally for something like a password, you do one-way encryption, meaning the developers can't see that even if they wanted to. There's no way to decrypt it. It's one way only. So things like a password, meaning because you never have to decrypt a password. You just
So you don't have a folder
What you do
called
is you compare
passwords and then users email and passwords.
We've seen that. I've seen that. We actually have seen one where they had a folder called bank records.
Wow.
It's just a bunch of files in there, bank records. I've seen one where credit card numbers and social security numbers were just plain and clear. I've seen that was years ago, but I mean, they get really bad. But that's the kind of thing. Are they encrypted? Can it be one-way encrypted? If it can't be, meaning I need like first name, for instance. I want to be able to show your first name in the app. It has to be able to be decrypted. Okay. How is that done? Right. You don't need to know the specifics of the encryption, but is it being encrypted? It's sensitive. Another thing is how secure is your database? Is it locked down? Can anybody get into it? Not even just name and password. Obviously that's there, but most databases are IP locked, meaning you have to unlock your IP address before you can use that. You can't connect to the database unless you are an approved IP address. That's very basic.
I was going to ask what unlocked IP means. So that means that the database actually already recognizes the IP address because it was given that IP address as like a permission in the beginning.
Yeah, it's like a whitelist. So it says, these are the 5 people who are allowed to log into my stuff, and here's where they live. Here's their IP address. And so even me, if I'm on vacation, I can't get into the database.
You can't get in remotely if you're not from the spot you need to be in. Yeah.
So and that's basic stuff. But yeah, that's another one. Making sure that if you don't have to store it, the best way of security is to never store it. So asking your developer, hey, do I have to store this? Do I have to store a social security number? There's very few reasons. Like if you're doing, or credit card number would be a better example. If I'm giving my credit card number to Stripe for them to do their thing, I don't need it. Right? My system doesn't need it. It's just a pass-through. We like close our eyes
at the end. So yeah, that was good.
They give us a token saying, yep, that was good. But you really can, if you build Stripe wrong, you can actually be looking at the credit card number as you pass it along, which is a security risk. You're supposed to be like you're blindfolded and you just hand it over. You're just passing it from one to the other and you've never seen it. That's how it's supposed to be done. And most sensitive stuff can be done that way. Those are the basics that I would go for. There's a lot of others. Are your security keys and stuff like that, like your database passwords and stuff like that, is that in the code or is it in a configuration file that's never on the that's never stored in GitHub, for instance? That's a big one too. So yeah, I mean that's some stuff and those are easy questions to ask. They don't have to be, I need to know what encryption algorithm you're going to use. Come on.
Yeah. We touched on this subject in different forms throughout like past podcasts and even in some of the blogs and stuff that we've written, because it's a big deal. And I think another big deal to recognize is that, like you said before, you might be saving money, but if you're not getting this stuff done the right way, what's a possible outcome there if it's wrong? Besides, hackers getting people's personal information, I mean, you can be sued. Aren't you responsible?
Well, it's not even, if you got sued, it's not even that. I don't even know if you need to go that far. If you're a brand new company and you're doing your thing and you're collecting the sensitive data and you're doing it poorly and someone hacks you, you're done. You're it. You're not Target who can go and bring in, security experts and lock everything down and give everybody free credit report monitoring for a year and blah, all that, You can't do that. You just broke your trust. Yeah. And now I've got you're going to spend 10 times more defending yourself than you are doing it right.
Yeah, your business is obviously over, but I think even as well, there could be other legal risks that you might suffer.
Maybe. I'm certainly no lawyer. I don't know how that works, but it's just I think the simple answer is you got to do it right. And it doesn't have to be the top tier $1 billion developer who's knowing this. But again, do you want the first timer? Oh yeah, I'm gonna hire your cousin who just finished code school. He'll build my startup for 20% equity.
The cool thing is he works with your nephew who has Photoshop, so then they're automatically a designer. So
is it a designer? And I mean, that's a 1-2 punch. You got a designer and a developer. And another cousin's got a computer that he's not using in his back, so there's your server. Right? I mean, why not? We just use his Comcast internet.
Yeah.
Just put it in the garage. It's perfectly safe. I mean, now that doesn't happen as much anymore, but that used to be a thing. Back
People
before all the
personal
cloud
computers
servers
as their servers?
Yeah, the reason why for a long time that your upload and download speed on your internet was so bad, like let's go back a few years, you got 10 down and 1 up, right? The reason for that is they didn't want a bunch of people running a bunch of servers on their networks. They you know what I'm saying? So uploading data to a server because you're doing something bad back in wares and piracy and stuff like that was the big deal. But that's why they did that. Nowadays, it's just because, well, now with fiber, they don't do that anymore. But it's that used to be a common thing where, yeah, he's got an extra server. That's just going to be my my web server. I don't know. There's a million ways that people just try to cheap out. Some are great. Some are good. You don't need to spend $1 billion for something that can be done for cheap. But there should be a line that you don't want to cross. And you need to know what those lines are. That's the key. You don't care about some things, but you need to know what you should care about. You don't have to be a developer to know these things. Like if you're making parachutes, you should know that seams matter. Rope strength matters, right? These are things. If you were just like, I got an idea for a parachute, I'm just going to farm out the cheapest piece of cloth maker I can find. Come on. That's extreme, but it's the same thing. Except it's just not life and death.
Now I can't get certain Far Side lyrics out of my head talking about parachute with forks and spoons in it. But it gives you a visual of those cartoons anyways. All right, so at least you need to cover the bare necessities when it comes to security.
That was my favorite cartoon. Well, no, as a kid it was Garfield. But I loved Far Side.
Yeah.
The little single comics.
Far Side and Calvin and
Hobbes. He just retired.
He retired.
I was not a big Calvin and Hobbes fan as a kid.
Oh, loved him.
I was Garfield, and I did some Heathcliff. Did you ever do any Heathcliff?
Yeah. I used to draw Heathcliff and Garfield all the time just because they were so easy. Just circles and triangles.
Oh, man. I used to draw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I found out recently that I'm pretty sure I'm right. Siwa draws Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Is that right? I think
a lot of people draw them. I've never drawn them.
He was drawing them for his... Was that Siwa? Now I'm going to feel bad. He was telling me he's starting to draw, and I was like, oh, man, when I was a kid, that's all I ever drew was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Get their big muscles on their arms and their funny faces with the big old nose. Anyway. All right. Do you have anything else you would like to add to this or any other subject?
I think it's just the invisible pitfalls is not knowing what you don't know. And
and that's there's that old
professional.
There's that old Venn diagram of this is what you know, this is what you know you don't know, and this is what you don't know you don't know. You ever seen that? It's a really great visual. I saw that in college, but you should. I don't want to beat the dead horse. I simply want to make sure that you get a trusted professional, even if you don't hire them. Like that guy I was talking about, we're not building anything for him. He asked for some advice and we're giving it to him. A lot of dev companies will absolutely do that for you. Now, of course, we want him to hire us. I'm not shy about that, but. And it's easy to say, well, another coder did it bad, so hire me. I would have loved to have been able to tell him, this code looks great. I got no problems with it. I know that's the risk, right? Are you a skis ball who's going to tell me I have bad code even when I have good code? Those people exist, sure. But everyone knows a developer. I would just, hey, what are the questions I should ask this development team when I'm talking to them? What should I ask?
Other business owners too. Like, hey, is there anything I should, ask these developers that you've run into in the past?
Yeah, everyone's got a horror story of working with developers.
Types. Yeah.
Ask what you wish you would have known. I mean, get in there and ask other business owners, other startup founders that you meet at schmoozers, hey, I'm just getting started. What are some questions you wish you would have asked the dev team when you got started? I promise you, they'll all have one, because almost everyone has a horror story of where their dev went wrong.
That's actually really good advice. Yeah, especially if you're even on those like little online networking things or whatever when you're talking to other. Yeah. Anytime you can throw a question in there that's actually more meaningful than how do I get rich quick? Something that's actually going to help your business.
Hey, how can I do drop shipping? I have $1,000. What can I do to make money quick?
So
that's what Reddit is full of.
I'm thinking if I can quickly turn around T-shirts based on, social commentary and things that happen in current events, I could make millions. Yeah. Little stab at you, a little stab at the T-shirt industries.
Mine was not current events. Thank you very much. Mine were funny.
No, but that's always.
I still have that list somewhere.
Like, it'll just take me 15 minutes, and I'll put it up on Threadless or wherever. There's like 1,000 other T-shirt places that you could buy.
Yeah, man, it's easy money. You just it doesn't take any skill to do any drawings, right? That's easy. I can just go to Fiverr.
It's quick. You just pick a font, pick some clip art, you're done.
Comic Sans, baby. You don't even need to pick a font. Just pick the font. The font. Comic Sans. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, you bring that up just to make me uncomfortable.
Oh man, that's hitting him where it hurts. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We will be back next week talking about goat yoga. He's going to give us an expose on it.
Yeah, hot goat
yoga.
Yeah, you do hot goat yoga.
Poor
when
goats
you're
are just
done,
panting.
You just end up with some curry goat. And you get to eat it. Awesome.
Oh, that's wrong. You sprinkle it on the. All right, good deal.
No, but if you do have any questions, comments, suggestions, or any topics you would like us to cover, you can always hit us up at hello@thebigpixel.net, or you can go to any of the social media channels that we are on, including Instagram, which we are Kardashian approved. So, or you could leave comments.
Yeah,
on
they love our
page.
stuff.
Imagine if we got
they comment
the
on
Kardashians to like retweet or repost one of our posts. That'd be awesome. 350 million.
That'd be great. If anybody knows a Kardashian, get them to retweet us. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.
See ya.